Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddy on Twitter. And today I want to talk to you about gaining leverage. So this is something that I think is vastly underrated, something that a lot of people maybe think that they're doing, but they're not doing a good enough job of. And I would argue to say that the difference between an average player and a good player is right here in this video, gaining leverage. The difference between a good player and a great player, right here, gaining leverage. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves, what is the field doing? Does that mean that there are going to be a lot of, low-priced running backs this week for us to play? Is there going to be a certain team that's going to be just absolute mega chalk? Like, what is it that the field is doing? And then we need to examine those situations and say, could the opposite of that work? So some general examples. Let's say that there's a really chalky running back this week. And let's just say that their salary is $5,500. So first thing I want to do is, I want to know what that ownership percentage is, because leverage basically comes down to knowing what ownership percentages are going to be, or at least having a darn good idea. So if this $5,500 running back is projected to be at 40% ownership, that would be quite high for MME. What we're looking for is, let's scroll up and let's scroll down. Let's maybe go, I don't know, in this instance, we'll say we'll go 500 up, 500 down. And we want to try to find a similarly projected running back that has drastically less ownership. And, it's okay that, we're looking at a guy who maybe the 5,500 super popular guy, maybe his projection is, we'll say 22 points for the week. And if we find someone, 500 up, 500 down, who is, a couple points less, maybe they're, 18 and a half, 19 points that they're projected for. The leverage that we gain by them doing well and the chalky running back failing is drastic, and it's well worth a couple of points. So don't let a few points discourage you. Now, if you've got a guy that's, projected for 7 or 8 points, that's probably not where we're looking. Doesn't mean it couldn't work, but that's not the idea here. So same thing with, a wide receiver, if we've got a super popular wide receiver, they're coming in at, 30%, let's say. Same thing. Let's scroll up, let's scroll down, $200-$300 maybe window above and below, and let's look for someone similarly priced that has a similar projection but has much less ownership. So that's in a nutshell what we're looking for. Now, a question that is going to be ever so popular here is going to be, how much leverage should you use? Let me break it down for you in 3 different ways. Small field MME, large field MME, and cash. So small field MMEs, again, these are not going to be hard, fast rules. These are just things that when you're building a lineup, if you're trying to win, this is something you should strongly consider. It's making sure that you kind of check these boxes. You're looking for roughly 3 players that are under about 10%. So depending on the week, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. The 10% number also is not an absolute given. Could be 11%, could be 12%, could be 9%, whatever. But looking for roughly 3 players under 10% in your lineup. You're also looking to have 2 players that are over 20%, because chalk is going to hit. It's just going to. And you need players that are going to be popular. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with playing popular plays. You just cannot have a lineup full of them, because you will not win. You might make a profit, but in the long run, you're not going to win, a lot of money. Now, let's get to large fields. For large fields, I'm saying we want 5 players that are under 10%. So again, could be 3, could be 4, could be 5, could be 6. The 10% number could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but just again, to give you a ballpark of an idea. And that's different from the 3 that I'm suggesting for small field, because we have to face so many more entries that we need to be a little bit more different. Now, we're not trying to be crazy. And when I say under 10%, I'm not looking for 5 guys that are less than 1% owned. We'll get a little more into that. But guys that are, just under that 10% mark, or maybe, a little bit more than that under. Now I'm looking for 1 or 2 players here that are over 20%. So I really want to limit it to that number. With the small field, I said 2. With large field, 1, I guess, would be ideal, but 2 is obviously no problem. I guess you could argue that in some weeks 3 is fine, but you're really trying to make your lineup, a little bit more unique and give it a chance to really hit big. Now, the difference I'm going to throw in here between large field and small field is in large field, I'm telling you, get a player on your team, on that roster, that's under 3% owned. I probably wouldn't suggest doing more than one. If you wanted to do a second one, sure, I guess so. But you're really looking to get one under 3%. Again, could be 3%, could be 4%, 5%, sure. But, you're looking for a player under that. That's going to help you gain leverage on the field so that we can win money. Other thing you can look at here as far as gaining leverage, pivots. Best example that I can think of, probably the easiest one, the most effective one, play a wide receiver 2 with your quarterback in your stack as opposed to a wide receiver 1. The correlation between a wide receiver 1 and a quarterback is the highest. The wide receiver 2 to the quarterback is not very far behind, not as much as you would think. Now, of course, each team is going to be a little bit different, so don't take this and just run with it. But whenever you're going to stack, I want you to always think to yourself, who's the wide receiver 2? And is that a viable option? Is that one way I can check a box on being a little bit different and gaining leverage? Easy way to go about it. Next, if there's a popular running back on a particular team, consider the passing game. So if you've got a team that's favored by 13 points, they've got a good running back, and you're expecting them to get the lead early and to run the ball, and that's why that running back is popular, look at the passing game. Ask yourself, is this a passing game that I can stack? Is this going to help me get different? Is this going to help me get the leverage spots that I need? Not a lot of people are going to be playing that because everyone's focused on the running back. Something easy to look at and consider. Next one, if there's a popular quarterback, consider playing the opposing quarterback. If a quarterback is popular, it's because they're expected to score a lot of points. If they're scoring a lot of points, the opposing team is going to need to score a lot of points. There's a lot of high correlation between opposing quarterbacks. So another spot to look at is you've got a team, that is very chalky that week. Who is their opponent? Is that a team that we can stack? And you can put a couple of these things together, and right there, right off the bat, just with your game stack, you could get a lot of leverage and fill the rest of your lineup out, with a couple chalk pieces. So easy ways to do. Now, again, all of this is easy in theory. It's putting in practice that takes a lot of time and effort. So, these are just things you want to think about each week, each time you're making a lineup. Check all these boxes. The last thing I want to talk about, another easy way to get leverage, simply being over or underweight on a particular player. So if you've got a running back expected to be at about 40% ownership, let's say, consider playing them significantly less. Like playing them at 30% as opposed to 40 is not really going to do much for you. You're going to want to drop them down to at least 20. Now, if you're going to do that, you also should consider a full fade. I wouldn't suggest taking a 40% owned running back and maybe playing them at 5 or 10%. At that point, I think you might as well just cut ties and not play them at all. The opposite of that is you could take a player who is expected to be 40% owned and play them at 80%. Now, I wouldn't suggest putting so many eggs all into one basket, because if that player fails, you are in massive trouble. But it's certainly an option. It's certainly something that you can do. But I'm telling you right now, gaining leverage on your opponents is arguably the number one thing when it comes to MME. Outside of, previous video of roster construction, this is where you make your money. So you really need to pay attention and focus on these with each lineup. You want to give yourself the best possible chance to win. Now, if you haven't done so already, pop on over here, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on notifications so you get an alert anytime a video is posted. If you haven't done so yet, like the video here. If you've been liking the strategy videos, drop a like as well. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.